Mystery Space, and Kim is here tonight, and we are going to do a little interview. I worked with Kim last week. Would you be preferred to be called Kimberly or Kim?
Kim is fine.
Okay. So I wanted to have Kim on the channel. She's got a really great story that I think would be very empowering for people to hear out there. In recognizing red flags, understanding your natural instincts of things that aren't right, and sticking up for yourself. Kim has got a great story to tell, and I'm going to give it away to you, Kim, so that people can hear that you don't have to stick around this for long term. This was something that you recognize in quite a short time frame, which I think we don't hear much about in this community. And that's why I think it's your story is very important for those out there to hear. So take it away, start wherever you would like. And thank you again for doing this.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, these stories, of course, are not easy to tell, but I feel like the more people hear them, you can feel like you're not alone. And as much as us on the end that we're on, it's so hard to fathom that there are people like this out there. But once you start opening your eyes to see it, you'll see that they're all so much alike. So hearing each other's stories is helpful. So to start my story, I guess I'll go back to how we met. We're both from the same hometown, but he's about 5 years older than me, and he graduated with my sister. So I, of course, have heard of him, nothing but wonderful things about him. And he had been living on the West Coast for a while. I live in New Jersey. And my sister brought me to a show that he was doing in New York City. He's a musician. And, of course, he's charming. I remember him from when I was young. And he followed up with us on Facebook, like, if you're ever in California, let me know. And I just happened to be going to California on a trip with my mom the next month. So I was like, hey, guess what? I'm going to be in California. We should meet up. So we planned to meet up for a hike right when I got there. And we had fun. It seemed like a good connection. And then, we live on opposite sides of the country. So I thought, like, that would be it. But then he started with the text messages, like, I had such a good time. I need to see you again. And so we met up another time, and he started putting the moves on. And because of our history, I thought, like, maybe it's because we have so much in common from where we are from. That's why the connection is so strong. So then again, I thought maybe that would be it. I was going then down South California, and a third time that week, he's like, I want to drive to where you are and see you. And I remember thinking, like, that seems a bit much. And, like, you ignore the gut feelings because they make you feel so wonderful and so special. So I was like, you know what? It's now or never, because I'm going to go back home. So, like, what's the harm? So I went, and, like, even my mom at the time, who I was on vacation with, would say, like, wow, you must have made quite an impact on him, because it was so over the top. But my mom thinks I'm a lovely person. Like, we didn't think that was a red flag.
Right.
So I saw him that one more time, and we kept in touch. And then he decided he wanted to come out and see me a month later. So we met up in California in January, and then late February is when he came to visit me. And I remember thinking, like, it's hard for me to tell the story as it was then, because I see it so differently now. And I remember thinking, like, I know who he is, I know his family, but I still don't really know him well. And to have this man staying at my house with me, like, I remember I said, like, if things don't get too physical when you're here, I don't want you to feel like something went wrong. Like, that's just me. Sometimes I like to take things slow. So looking back now, I know that was me setting a boundary. And he one of their tests in the beginning is like, how easy is it going to be for me to break down this boundary? So I want to say the second night he was here, which equates to about our fourth date probably, was when he said, I love you. And of course, like at the time, I didn't think that that was normal, but I also didn't realize how dangerous it was. And of course, hearing that, there goes my boundary. Like, if this man loves me, fine. Like, I'm going to be with him. Um, and so that moved the relationship physically faster than I wanted. But again, I was like, these are different circumstances also because I was never in a long distance relationship. Like maybe he felt like he gets to know me better because there was no physical in the interim. We were just getting to know each other's personalities. So I always, every time that I had that feeling like this is too fast, I found a way to explain it away to myself. And I think that's what we always do because we don't understand that somebody could be this good at pretending.
Right.
And then, I mean, there's a lot of like the golden period where I didn't notice a lot of red flags. And I don't know if you want me to jump ahead to when I really started to see that something was wrong or try to remember other little things I noticed along the way.
Whatever you think is going to be, I mean, this is already super helpful to listen to. For me, I'm listening to it again, but everything you're saying right now is just, I know everyone out there can relate to what you're saying. So yeah, I mean, if you can think of some other things along the way to help others out there, that's great. If not, yeah, I mean, I remember asking you like, when were you like, okay, something's not right with this guy?
Yeah, and then on that first trip too, I remember I got like a bunch of my friends together because I'm like, like let's see how he interacts with my friends and like really immerse him in my world. And I set up axe throwing is a big activity over here these days, so I set that up. And one thing when I was learning about this, I was like, oh, he never really did the silent treatment that seems to be so paramount to these people. But then when I looked back, I remembered my one friend Wei, who's a male, asked if I wanted to play like this one-on-one game that they had posted. So I was doing that. And when I went over to tell this man that I was dating that I won, like he ignored me. And I figured like, oh, he's just interacting with his other friends. Like it didn't last for a very long time. But way later down the line, he told me how the minute he met Wei, he could smell the jealousy from a mile away because I had what he always wanted and never had the balls to do anything about it. So here I'm trying to do something nice and introduce him to all my friends, and he
is creating drama.
Course, he kept the mask on then, and I only learned this months down the line, but hated me for interacting with my friend who I've known for 20 years, who is like a family member to me. Like there's nothing to worry about there, but as we know now, everything threatens them.
Yeah, yep, yes.
So that was February, and then we went back and forth. I would go visit him in California, and he would come here to see me in New Jersey. And I guess the way I described that gut feeling that I had at that time was like, we only get to know each other in vacation mode, right? Like we're always traveling, seeing beautiful places. Like, I don't know how that will work in the real world when we're together all the time, when we're going to work, when we're not, on vacation. So fast forward to September. I can work remotely sometimes for my job, so I decided to spend a week there working from his place. And then my birthday was coming up, and so he was going to take me to Disneyland because I love it there. And a week's time with somebody, it's really hard for them to keep the mask on. So he had the benefit of distance all that time. It was so easy for him to keep the act up then. But little things I would notice were not normal. And, this was kind of like a test to see I did consider picking up my life and moving to California for him. And he pushed for that because how great would that be if my support system was a plane ride away? I mean, that would have been the end of me. That would have
Yep.
ruined me. Um, and I'm trying to think, like, I don't want to get too much into my personal details, but I remember, like, there was a slight pregnancy scare, and I asked him, like, what would you do if you got me knocked up? We're adults. We're not 16. I'm 37. He's in his 40s. And his response was, I don't want to put those words out into the universe. What?
Yeah.
And
Yep.
then, you know, it was girl time for me finally. Um, and I said something like, guys don't know how easy they have it. And he was like, what? He's like, guys have it just as hard. Like, that's why we die younger, because we work harder. And I was just like, what are you even saying? Guys die younger because they're dumb. Sorry, guys listening out there. I always assume, because of my experience, that all narcissists are men, but I do understand that there are women out there too, and I'm sure they say just as outlandish things as that.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
they do.
also, he again, he's a grown man in his 40s, and he would say, like, I don't want my building manager to know that I have somebody staying here for a long time. So try not to come and go too much when I'm not here. So, like, he kind of kept me, like, locked away. Like, you know, I felt like I couldn't even go outside and take a walk. Like, and I think that was done on purpose. Like, they try to isolate you. But anyway, like, at that time, I kind of knew, like, I could never move to California. Like, this, if this is really what I thought it would be, it wouldn't matter that my family is back home. Like, this person should feel like home to me, and he doesn't. Um, so then we were off to Disneyland, and somewhere along the way, I accidentally said that I was homesick already. And oh boy, he did not like hearing that.
Narc
Right.
injury.
What do you even mean by that? And I have to say, like, the conversation that we had in the car at that time wasn't, even by narcissist standards, it wasn't that off base. But he would say, like, oh, it'd be detrimental to my career to move, still pushing hard for me to come to California. And I remember saying, like, with my job, I can do my work from anywhere. So, like, I could see myself maybe splitting my time, but I just don't see, like, leaving everything behind. And when we got to Disneyland, like, we were at an okay place in the conversation. And I was like, you know, of course, there's a whole lot more to be said, but we're in Disneyland. It's my birthday. Like, can we just table this until another time? And he was like, yeah, of course, of course. So we went to sleep. Everything was fine. And I woke up in the morning, and the first thing he said to me was, what you said to me yesterday, you gave me no hope for the future. None at all. You are unwilling to compromise at all, and I just can't believe it. In such an angry tone. And I was like, if you have no hope for the future, then what are we doing? And, like, trying to rationalize and trying to make it seem like I said I could split my time. Like, that's a compromise. Picking up, one of us having to give up everything, that's not a compromise.
No.
But, you know, that was my first my first real taste of what word salad looks like. And, like, really trying to get my point across and have it just go nowhere. And like a lot of narcissists, he's so good at making you feel like you're the one that's being unreasonable. So here we are at Disneyland, and, like, spent my first hour of the day crying, and then he thinks, like, let's go be happy now in Disney World. And And I learned later on too, like, a narcissist won't let you have a happy birthday. That's a day that's not about them. So like
Yeah.
if you're early on in the golden period, they can probably pretend because they're still in the entrapment phase, I would call it. But you know, the golden period's coming to an end. So now I'm getting slapped with a dose of reality. So like he's gonna say he did this wonderful thing, brought me to Disneyland, which his parents mostly paid for, by the way. But he's gonna make sure you're not gonna have a good time. I'm gonna crap on your birthday, but like make you feel bad if you're not having a good time through it all. So the second day at Disneyland, we started off the day, everything was fine. And then we went our separate ways to go to the bathroom. And I come back and like right away, I'm like, what possibly could have happened while I was in the bathroom? And he's like, nothing's wrong, nothing's wrong. And then he was like, I just don't think you understand how much is at stake for me here. Like, I can't do my music career from New Jersey. It would be soul crushing. Keep in mind, his music career is non-existent. He teaches guitar lessons. So, honey, you can do that from anywhere. And at the time, like, I just didn't even try to fight back at that time. I was starting to learn, like, nothing I say matters right now. So,
wait, I gotta ask you this, Kim. How long into meeting or you know, I know you knew him from before, but how long into dating were these fits happening with him?
So we started dating in January and this was September, so like 8 months in.
Okay.
And like meanwhile, like I had met his family, they all seemed wonderful. I mean, narcissists come from somewhere. I can't pinpoint like how he became the way he did, but they put on just as good as a show as he does. So that's part of the fantasy too. Like you want to be part of such a wonderful family, but it's all an illusion.
Yeah.
So yeah, so he insisted like he could never move to New Jersey. It'd be soul crushing and still like, well, don't be mad. Like, okay. And so like still I mean I didn't know still and I tried to explain to him my side of things, which really just gave him more ammunition. Like I suffer from anxiety, so I was open about that with him and I told him like, you know, I know what it feels like for my anxiety to be out of control. And what keeps me sane is being with my family, being with my home base, being with my coworkers, a job that I've really grown to love. So if you think my mental health is nothing at stake, then that's also a problem.
Right.
And like he pretended to get it at the time, but you know, he didn't. So that was, you know, that was about it for that trip. And then when I went home, I was like, this is probably not going to work. And yet I still tried because like that golden period was so wonderful. You know, and I kept bringing up that incident where like first thing in the morning, he was like, you gave me no hope for the future. And he would be like, that's not what I said. That's not what I meant. I said in such a sad tone. So that's when the gaslighting started. And so many times I heard, that's not what I said. That's not what I meant. And when I would bring up like my anxiety, he'd be like, well, you never told me that. Yes, I did. But it's so easy for them to make you question yourself.
Yep.
And so I think having anxiety is another thing that also ended up saving me because I know what anxiety feels like and I know how to manage it. And this was a level of anxiety that I had never, ever experienced before. Wow. When somebody's trying to shatter your reality,
yeah, yes,
it's not an easy day-to-day thing. because you don't understand what they're doing to you. And even when you do understand, it doesn't make it any easier.
I love that you're bringing this up because just to interrupt real quick, that's such a guide. It's such a guide when you're out of balance. Your body's out of balance somehow. Your mind, something's out of balance here. If you already, like I too, know what that feels like to have anxiety. I too, I talked about it on my channel. I've had it since I was 14. And that's going out of whack. That's such a good indication. Or maybe if you've never had it before, I guarantee you're going to know what anxiety is when you've been around these people. So great point.
Yeah. I had some notes written down because things I wanted to touch on. So before I go forward, like some other red flags I just wanted to point out, because
Yes, please.
at the time, like I remember the second or third time we hung out, he wanted to show me some pictures from his trip to Italy on his Facebook page. So like we're looking at his phone and he goes into the search bar and it's all my name in there. And at the time I was like, oh, how flattering. Like he was looking into me. Little did I know that that is their tool. They study you, and Facebook is a gold mine of information. So they can start to learn how to mirror you, what you like. And me
Yes.
at the time, I was like, oh my goodness, how flattering. No, no, that was like the start of the evil.
Yep. Yep.
Um,
Wow.
And when he said, I love you, and it was way too soon, like he did break down some barriers there, but I didn't say it back because I was like, no, this is too soon. He would say things like, I know you love me, you're just not ready to tell me yet. Like, he did that a lot. Like, I'm
Yep.
going to put ideas in your head how I want you to feel
That's right.
until you feel that way.
Yes.
And like I made him, I like to crochet a lot, so I made him like a doll spot on likeness of him, and he was like, I know you made this for me because you love me. And I was like, I made this for you because I love to crochet. Like you try to dazzle me with your music, I was trying to show off with my crochet skills. Let's just get that straight. But so good at telling you how you feel or how he wants you to feel. Um, and another weird thing, um, the eye contact. I know I've heard you say things about eye contact, and in the beginning, like I consider myself kind of an awkward person, especially in the beginning of romantic stuff. And he would just stare at me, and I'd be like, "You make me squirm when you do that." And he's like, "I like to make you squirm," but I thought it was in a romantic way. But now
Yeah.
I know it's a very creepy way.
Yes. Yes.
Very
And
creepy.
they do that. Yes. Because they're studying you. I had a creepy stalker type last year who would sit there on the couch and do that. And I would catch him. And I mean, I know exactly what you mean. And it's creepy. And they just keep doing it. They know it's making you uncomfortable and they're just going to keep doing it. It's almost like that's part of, yeah. No
And to
self-control.
admit it, I like to make you squirm, but saying it like in a romantic way, that's not romantic in any way.
No,
I
no.
like to make you uncomfortable. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly. You just hit the nail on the head. Yes.
Yeah. Um, so where were we? We were at
Red flags.
kind of my enlightening moment, and he already had planned a trip. He already had October and November booked to come to New Jersey.
I'm sure he did.
So, I mean, he had family here. Thanksgiving was coming up, but when October was coming up, um, I was starting to have more of a hard time bringing things up with him because I would see when I would tell him how I was feeling, he would tell me why I shouldn't be feeling that way or why my feelings are wrong or no, that you're being too sensitive, you're not judging things properly. So I didn't feel comfortable trying to talk to him. But then I realized, like, crap, tomorrow he's going to be here. And he knew that I was starting to catch on. So he was coming on harder with the love bombs again. And so the day he was flying out, I know that's bad timing. I don't feel bad about it anymore. But I told him, like, you seem to be more sure about this than ever before. And I need you to know, like, I'm having more doubts. than I ever have before. And oh my goodness, the narcissistic rage, it was unlike anything I've ever seen. Who have you been talking to that's getting in your head? Because only one person's allowed to control my mind, and that's him. Nobody was getting in my head. I'm starting to think for myself again. And you don't like that, do you? He was telling me, I can't believe you're this immature. You're acting like a millennial that needs your safe space. I told him, stop mansplaining my feelings to me, because only I know what my anxiety feels like. And he would be like, mansplaining? You use that to describe your brother-in-law, so don't use that to describe me. I think you have problems with male authority, and you're projecting it on me. Excuse me? What? So, yeah, it was more of that, and me just like too stunned to even say anything, but that just made him so much angrier. And like at the time I was like laughing, because like what else am I gonna do? But then the realization hit me, like, well, now I need to spend 4 days with him.
Oh God.
And I remember picking him up from the airport. He said something like, I had no idea, or I was telling him, like, when we first started this, I told you, like, I need alone time. So it's hard when you're here and it's too much together time and then not enough together time. And he said, I had no idea you were this weak. And he saw the look on my face and he was like, oh, I didn't mean that. I didn't mean that. I shouldn't have said it. Well, that's the problem with words. Once you say them, they're said.
Yes. Yes.
And then it was that time where I 100% understand people who have to put on a happy face when they're with somebody who is terrifying them. Because I had told my mom about that conversation the day before, and I was like, I don't even want to go get him at the airport tomorrow. And so she was surprised that I did. And when we were interacting with my family, like, I had to put on a happy face. And my mom was like, I thought you guys resolved things and everything was fine. And I was like, no, Mom, this was me trying to get through 4 days until he was gone without ruffling any more feathers. I was having migraines every day, because your body knows when something is wrong.
Yep.
So then he went back home, and, I tried a couple more times to have conversations with him. But then I started to do the research, and it turns you into a spiteful person, because I can remember some of my first searches were how to out-manipulate the manipulator. How can I be a better manipulator? And so that kind of brought me to learning about the gaslighting, which then led me to some of the narcissistic videos, your channel being one of them. So thank you so much for that. And then, you see it for what it is. And then it's like, well, how do I get out of it? And I learned, like, trying to argue is not going to do anything. So I know breaking up with somebody in an email is not the way to do it, but in this situation, it was the way I had to do it, because I needed it in writing. I knew he wasn't going to listen to me. Like, on the phone, he wouldn't have let a breakup happen. It had to be in writing. And then, I've learned all of the terminology around it too, like the grand post-discard Hoover is like unlike anything you'll see. Like, he was asking me to marry him in text messages. The future faking was coming in to try to pull me back in. And again, I think somewhere deep down, I knew that this was not going to be an easy escape. And everyone was like, well, just block his messages. And I felt like I might need these someday. Yes. And so in all of my communications, I was so clear. And I would encourage everybody, if you need a way to get out, make sure it's in writing and you say very clear. I said so clearly, I need you to leave me alone because you're causing my anxiety to skyrocket. I'm trying to get away from something to feel better, and you keep trying to pull me back into it. I am asking you to stop contacting me. There was another one I said, I am begging you to stop contacting me. So it was post breakup, it was months of text messages, calls in the middle of the night, voicemails, baby, please, I know I'm not a bad person. I deserve another chance. I could understand if I was a complete a-hole, but nothing that happened between us is nothing we can fix. And then, so October was when I broke up with him. And at that point, it was, I could never move back to New Jersey. It would be soul crushing. Well, now the messages are telling me I'm getting the wheels moving so I can move back to New Jersey. And so everything can be happy again and we can be together like we always dreamed. So now I'm like, okay, I got to get this out of the way before February. And then all of a sudden it's actually in early December. I'm going to be there and we can be together now. And so now
and you're not responding to any of this?
In the beginning I did, and then I went no contact at all. Then he found me on a dating app. That was like a week before he was coming to New Jersey, and he was just blowing up my phone. And I remember I've been talking to my family members about this, and they don't understand. They understand a little bit better now, but they were giving me terrible advice.
Yes.
My mom would be like, well, things get misinterpreted in text. Maybe you should have a conversation with him.
God, yes. Yeah.
And all of his messages were like, you owe me a phone call. So I'm like, you think I owe you a phone call? Fine. We will have one more phone call. Maybe you need to hear my voice say, like, I'm not kidding. Like, I just want this to be done. And it was just hours of him screaming at me on voice call for an hour and a half. Like, I wanted to hang up the phone so many times, but I knew until he was done, it wasn't over. And I kept saying, whatever it is you feel like you still need to say, go ahead and say it, because I just want this to be done. Then he had to go to a guitar lesson. So he ended the call. Like, that's on you, sir. We're done here. No. He video called me back to back to back about 20 times until I had no choice but to pick up. And then now I have to see his face screaming at me. And again, like the same thing, going from telling me how terrible I am, what a liar I am, to how much he loves me and wants me back. I would die for you. I would do anything for you. I'm like, but I'm asking you to leave me alone. And that's the one thing you won't do. And he would say, I love you so much. And I never had to be this mean to a person, but it didn't matter. I was like, I heard you the first time you said that. Didn't have your desired effect on me. So please, let's wrap this up because I just want to be done. And then, so that was the anger call. And then after that, he insisted, we can't let it end like that. Please let me apologize. I'm in a bad place. And you have to. And because I'm not a monster, I let him. Now this was the crocodile tears. Like, okay, the anger didn't work. So let me turn on the sympathy play.
Yep.
And it was more of the same. Say what you need to say. I'm really done here. Finish this up. And then we'll be done. Nope. Then came more text messages about, I'm certain I have a sleep disorder. Feel bad for me. Wah, wah, wah. And then I left my voicemail full because I didn't want any messages from him. So his solution to that was to record me a 10-minute long message on WhatsApp telling me that I talked to all of my friends and they see that I did things wrong, but so did you, and nothing I did is unforgivable. We need to work this out. And then he sent me follow-up texts like, please have the respect to listen to the entire message, and please respond to at least acknowledge that you listened to it. So I happened to take a screenshot. Tracy, you've had the privilege of seeing the picture of him yelling at me. And so my final message to him was a screenshot of him screaming at me. He looks like a maniac. And then I said, I listened to your message, and I'm telling you for the last time to stop contacting me. And then I blocked him because, I mean, I was shot. I couldn't take it anymore. So I went to the police in my town and just wanted to find out what my rights are regarding harassment, knowing that in a week's time, he's not going to be a country away. He's going to be one town over from me. And they explained the process of getting a restraining order, and it's not an easy one. And so I was hoping it would never have to come to that, but he moved here in December. There were still calls, still texts. They were slowing down. Then I got a text that said, I'm going to be dropping off a very important letter, or I'm going to be mailing a very important letter and a very important CD that I wrote a song for you. Again, have the respect to listen to it. I'm not a disrespectful person. You don't need to talk to me like that. So now I'm like afraid of my mailbox because I don't want this, but I'm also not going to answer him to tell him not to. So instead of mailing it, he dropped it off at my building. And so that was it for me. I went to the police, I filed a police report, and I had to go through the process of a restraining order. Again, it's not a fun process, but if you are so clear in your communications, I want this to stop, they don't have a leg to stand on in court. And their arrogance is going to dig a hole. Like, I really worried that in court, you know, he would be able to charm people. That arrogance made him look like a fool, and it made it so clear that only one of us is telling the truth.
That's right. Wow. And so we all have to ask you, was this song any good?
No. And it's funny because I had mentioned an acquaintance of mine who's in a band, I put together a puzzle and won a song. I answered 5 questions that this man asked me, and he, based on 5 questions that I answered and knowing me a tiny bit, made a song for me that was so beautiful and so perfect. Meanwhile, this man who claimed to have loved me with all he had made a song, it was garbage, and it was all about himself. The lyrics, if I remember, were, "It's been too many weeks since you said I love you. I believe that God is testing me, and there'll never be another love like ours again."
Oh, God.
Yeah.
You know, your story, I know, is going to hit so many people in terms of like how they think, how they operate to the bitter end. And, you know, I think we talked about this last week. It's like, you know that deep down you're still going to be on edge because you know that he's right near you. And that gives you this like, you're uncomfortable, you know, he's come in your life, disrupted your life, made it uncomfortable for you. And, you know, that little tinge that gives them some elation, knowing them, you know, like, it's like he the entire time was like, how dare you not march to the beat of my drum? How dare you not get in line? How dare you have a mind of your own? How dare you walk away from me? And that's, I mean, to the bitter end in court, that's what he was trying to do. Like, I'm going to control your thoughts, and I'm going to control how you're supposed to feel and how you're supposed to feel about me. And I think it's super important that everybody heard, like, how you recognize, okay, this doesn't feel right. You didn't even have your hands on narcissism and what this type of person is and what they do, you just had this innate feeling of like something's not right here. I can't put my finger on it, but you know, I already I'm here 4 days and I can't wait to go. I'm only here, I've only been here a day and I can't wait to go home. That's a red flag, you know, because that's one thing I think that people forget. And like you said, they get you in the beginning to kind of come be distracted over here, and come see how I'm treating you so great over here. But over here, you know, you're seeing what they're doing, and you're like, something doesn't add up. I think that's the feeling that a lot of us have said. In the very beginning, we were going along for the ride. It felt great. They make you feel like they're the first person that really got you. They're the first person that really appreciates you, really sees you for who you are and what you bring to the table. And like you said, behind the scenes, they're studying. They're sitting on your Facebook, probably hours worth that. I mean, my ex narcopath, one of the ex narcopaths, the main hierarchy of evil. I remember saying the same thing to me. Like, I was like, "What did you do this afternoon?" I just met the guy, and invited him to come out with all of us. We were going to go dancing later on that night, and I had met him in the afternoon. He's like, "I went back home and looked at your Facebook page all afternoon," and I was just like, "Okay." And I remember being like, "That's really, really creepy," you know. And another vision came to mind of what he was doing. And because you know, I don't know, I could see that there was this probably real creepy side to him, but he had me, "Come on over here, I'll show you. I studied a little bit more of you, so I'm going to show you what, you know, I think you want to see."
And it's like, you think they study you because they care. Nope. They're studying you in the most insidious way.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And I think for me too, like, understanding all of this, the hardest thing for me, I can totally process somebody treating me in a way we see as badly. It's so hard for me to process that love bombing was not real.
Right.
How do you shower somebody in that much affection that you don't mean?
Yes.
That's the hardest pill for me to swallow. And I think I was saying before, like, he already has his new victim. I'm hopefully not going to look at it anymore, but curiosity makes you look at it. And like, I know the hell that she is in store for, but I still feel like jealousy for like the beautiful time she's having right now, because
Yeah.
it is so wonderful. And
Yeah. You know what she's feeling.
You just have to remember, like, you know, she is in for the fight of her life.
Yes, yes. I always tell people, and it happened to me. It happened to me after the divorce and the year that I did date. And you know, I think most people know I haven't dated since last July. July will make a year. Hallelujah. I had had enough. I knew I needed to do this path, be on this path alone. And so anyway, when I made that decision, I'm not dating anybody else. In that year, you know, it's when you have encounters with people like this, and I think you had some in your past too that had this personality, and you didn't realize it. Me too, you know, that had these traits, and they weren't healthy, and they were very toxic. We talk about, you know, unfortunately, a lot of musicians have this problem. They have ego issues, and they're, you know, they think they're God's gift or something. I don't know. It's really sad because I'm a musician, and that was one thing I thought I had in common with these people, but in all actuality, like, you know, they brought me down into their depths of hell. And it's not to say all musicians are creepy and narcissistic, but you know, I had my fair share of that. I don't think that I do it again. Honestly, I really don't. But having said that, without really trying to judge, I just you're gonna, you know, it happened to me. Like, it was literally like the first time. It was the first time with any of them that something just didn't add up, or they wanted to start an argument, or they got confrontational, or you know, too much too soon. I got this like smothering feeling. I was like, oh, no, like
Yeah.
all sat, you know, I don't do that. I don't move this fast. And also your behavior is very reminiscent. It's very familiar. I'm all set, you know. And I think that's what people got to understand is like, you don't have to stay with people like this. You do not have to. And when something feels off, it's off. Stick to your feelings. Cause I think most of us had them, but we just kind of went, oh, you know, Birdie, get out of here, Birdie. Like we're all right. You know.
And our mind plays tricks on us because, like, that's my fear too. Like, what if nobody normal ever makes me feel as good as that golden period felt?
Yeah. Yes.
And I thank my lucky stars that, I mean, my nightmare, it's still going, but like the relationship, I was out in 9 months. Like,
And
I know a lot of people, maybe, you know, their narcissists are better at hiding it, or maybe it's just harder to find that information sometimes. But yeah, it's tough.
I can't thank you enough for sharing your story. It's gonna be, I just spilled water all over myself. So it's gonna be this just goes along with the mess a mess of a day I'm having today. But I think it's just really helpful to hear because you're very intelligent and you know, it's helpful to hear your story and all the parts of your story. And it's going to help other people out there to know, like, you know, unfortunately, guys, you know, and it's not to scare you out there, but there's a lot of them. So, you know, your dating experience after one of these, be prepared because there's plenty more of them, you know, just like them out there, masking arrayed in different ways and in different shades of narcissism. But, you know, there's this level of unhealthiness, and it's important to recognize that in the beginning when you're going on these dates with people or you're getting to know people. Anything that people are doing too fast, you know, they just saw you, then they want to see you again. You know, like, can I see you tomorrow? And you know, you might be interested, you might have some physical attraction. I always talk about chemistry. Remember, guys, chemistry makes bombs. And you know, sometimes, you know, you can put two people in the same room. I can remember narc number one, perfect example in my life. Narc number one, everybody in my life, I was 22 years old, would be like, him? Like, he is so unattractive. Like, what do you see in him? You know, he's gross. You know, this is what my friends would say. And I would be like, I don't know what it is. You know, I get in his vicinity and I'm all over. So be aware of those things. That's not always a good thing. You know, you have to take your time to like really get to know someone. And if they're pushing that, all of a sudden they're talking about moving in, planning vacations, doing these, you know, all these nice things for you. Oh, there's a motive there. They want to grab you. They want to grab you during that love bombing stage, because if they can get you, then they can get a ring on your finger. Then they can get themselves moved into your place. Then whatever it is they're looking to get, they really just want someone that they can control and use in every which way they need, you know. So I'm glad that this is how your story ended, and I'm also so glad that you got the restraining order, because that is huge. You know, Kimberly, she knew at some point that she's gonna have to do it, and he didn't let up. You made it perfectly clear. If you keep doing this, you know, I asked you to stop, and he keeps. See how disrespectful that is.
And you would think that a restraining order would be the end of it, but I got an email from my lawyer. It made its way from him through the court to his lawyer to my lawyer. He has a restraining order. You would think he would understand you've done something wrong. You've crossed the line. No. His message was, the judge said I can't have contact with any of her family members, but the paperwork doesn't explicitly say it. And I'm friends with the plaintiff's sister. So what happens if I see her? I need it in writing. He said, because I cannot trust what the plaintiff might do in the future, and I want nothing to do with the plaintiff. Well, guess what, honey? You can't have anything to do with me because there's a restraining order against you. Then he went on to say you know, this is very important for me to know because I am and have always been a law-abiding citizen. No, you're not if you have a restraining order against you.
You see what that is? You see what he's doing? He's still saying, I still get to make a rule here. I still get to talk to her sister.
Mm-hmm.
And I recognize that's what's going to happen here. See what how wow.
And still taking digs at me.
Yep.
Still taking digs at me.
Still trying to say, no, I make up my own rules, sweetheart.
And I want to say to him, like, stop trying to fight me because you're not going to win.
Yep.
And I have become such a strong person. And that's another thing I want to say to people out there. Like, I'm not this super strong person. Like, all of my life, I've been a pushover. That's why I was a target to this. But you can stand up for yourself, and you'll feel so much better when you do.
Amen to that. Amen to that. Well, I appreciate you so much, Kimberly, for coming on the channel and talking to everyone. And please leave Kimberly some comments and leave the channel some comments. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button over to the right-hand corner and share the videos to help get the message out there about narcissists and the damage that they cause and how you need to stay far away from these people, as far away as possible. Again, thank you so much. And Kimberly, I'm going to hang up with this call, and I'll call you back.
Sounds good. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.